Hello, my name is Genosis, and welcome to Not a Gamer Gaming. This is our sixth and final episode of our Prefab Editor tutorial series. Today we're going to discuss the World Editor, placing your prefab in the world, and some remaining tips that we may have missed along the way. Before we begin, go ahead and click like and subscribe if you have not already, and click that notification bell so you know when the next video has come out. Now let's begin. Alright, first thing, before we get right into the World Editor, I want to discuss some final tips. Some keys we may have missed, some questions that may have been asked along the way. So I'm going to cover them here right in the beginning, and then we're going to move right on to getting your prefab into the world. So I'm going to show one of our first tips here by starting by selecting this odd shape. Now, first we'll cover the rotation key. I'm not 100% sure that I covered it, so I just want to make sure. So we press X to rotate. Very simple. You'll use this for situations where you want to get your prefab facing north, which we can do here in a moment. And if your placement is just off, just hit X, rotate, and off we go. Now, another handy one that I learned not that long ago is you hold Shift and then G, and you get this mirror tool. So mirror simply mirrors the selection you've made, which is extremely handy if you're designing kind of asymmetric builds and you want to copy a lot of the work that you've already done. So again, that was Control and G. All right, one more tip is regarding selection. When you're holding G, you have these keys. You can click up, down, left, and right. However, if you're holding G or Shift G for modifying your selection, you can press the movement keys, which are default to W, A, S, and D. So if you're handy with the editor and you're holding these keys and you just want to nudge in certain directions without clicking around, using the W, A, S, D movement keys, that might be a handy shortcut for you. All right, now a note. If you have any issues with the keys through any of these videos, check your key bindings. You can do that through the Escape, then Options menu, Controls, and then looking through all of these bindings. One that came up in the comments is they were having trouble doing a selection. Now here you have Drop Tool Belt item that's bound to G. That shares that function. So if you have it bound to something else, like you unbound it because you're accidentally dropping items, go ahead and rebind that and you'll find that works once again. Another common one is X for rotate. I believe it's under Vehicle for honk. And you can even check the entire Miscellaneous tab, which has things about God mode, invisibility, flying speed, and some of the things we use including selection fills, setting your selection, deleting selection, copy blocks, and rotating selections. They're all here. These are good as a reminder, which you can also find under your Help menu, which you only see here in the editor. And this will go over some of the basic editing things that will get you started, which will remind you if you've forgotten along the way through our videos. Cool. All right, now we're going to get this prefab put in a world. Okay, now let's start by going ahead and clipping all of this extra stuff we don't need. Just going to do Z and make your selections, Shift G to modify it. I'm sure you've done this many times by now. Hit J to clear. And yeah, that backside, that's fine. A little bit too much on the side though. So Shift and Z to put your selection inside of a block. Shift Z, and then J to clear. You know, I'm okay with that. That's not a bad thing. Okay, we hit Escape, save. Notice our name, tutorial_final. That will become relevant as we continue. All right, now let's go ahead, exit, and all right, now let's go into the World Editor. Click Editing Tools, World Editor. Now, we have a custom version of Navigaine. Now, how this was created is we went into the 7 Days to Die folder under Data and Worlds, and we made a copy of the Navigaine folder. We renamed that folder, and it'll show up here. Now, the reason that's useful is that you can continuously make changes to this copy of Navigaine, add your own builds, and save it, and it'll be your own custom modified copy of Navigaine you can play around with and put all of your fun POIs in. We're going to do that right now. Alright, here we are in Navigaine. We are going to pick a nice flat area to place our prefab just to play with it. Now, our usual keys, Q to fly, or God mode, and a couple of discuss which are kind of fun. If you open your map, and you hit Control, and then right-click on anywheres on the map, and you'll teleport to that location. That's handy. Also, if you're flying around, and you want to jump to a little teleport location, while you're holding Shift, press Q. You'll teleport to where you're pointing, whether it be a point on the ground or a block, or just a certain amount of meters. I think it's 100 meters. Let's go somewhere in the forest area, find something flat. Alright, this looks like a good spot. Let's go ahead and hit Z, and then we're going to place our prefab right on that spot. So hit K, open up the menu under Dynamic Prefabs, and then select Tutorial Final. That's why I like to use underscore in front of the tutorial for the prefabs we do, so we can find them all in one spot. Alright, hit load in prefab, and this green box designates where that prefab is going to appear. Move it around. Let's get near the edge of the building here. Now make sure to keep in mind the depth of your build. By that I mean how many blocks into the ground it is. So I move this once into the ground, and that will make sure that it appears level with the ground here. Now, normally when you place this prefab, it's not loaded into the world. This chunk doesn't have any data on this. So we move inside of our green box here, hit F1, then type CR for chunk reload, I believe. And this will place our prefab into the world and refresh the blocks. Now we notice that it's facing west. We did do our rotation. So we can hit X, X, and X. Yeah, that looks good. Let's hit chunk reload just to make sure everything's good. Yep, and that's it. Now that's placed in the world, we're going to hit escape and then save. And that's going to save our custom Navigaine world. And we're going to go ahead and try to find it, which is right beside the big passing gas station right next to Dyersville. Let's go find it. And here we are in day one of a new Navigaine world. Looks like our starting point started right near this, which is perfect. And here's our build. Now we're going to go ahead and peek inside, just to make sure our zombies are in here. There's some loot and some zombies. Great. Gonna let off some steam on these guys. Done. And that was it. Now it's cool. This is taking place here in Navigaine. We have our custom build here. We can add as many as we want in this extra copy. Now, the reason I make an extra copy is if the game updates, or if you verify files in Steam, it will recognize that your normal Navigaine files have changed, and it's going to correct it and remove all of the customizations you've done. If you make the extra copy, it won't do that. So, kind of a neat tip to know. Alright, now that's done, we have one more thing to cover. Now that's putting this build in a random generated world. Now this is a little trickier. This requires editing some files. Now before we do that, I actually have one extra key that's kind of handy to know. If you're just doing some testing and you want to not worry about moving zombies, press the asterisk key on your number pad. Now this is not a world editor type thing, but it's kind of good to know for testing. Screw you, buddy. I said, there we go. Now I feel better. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the rwgmixer.xml file, and that can be found in your 7 Days to Die folder under data/config. Let's go to that now. And here we go. I went ahead and entered this right in. All you have to do is take the name of the prefab. It's easier just to copy one of the other lines placed here in the XML file. Place the name here. And there's a couple properties that are good to know. One of it, which is minimum count. This will make sure that at least one of your buildings make it in the random world. and you can set max count just to make sure that it's not too overpopulated. If you have a unique building, something that you don't want to have a lot of, you can set that to 1, so you make sure there's only 1 showing up in your random gen world when it's generated. Now, the reason I put it into this one is that this build that we've done is in the downtown area. And if you look through the mixer, there's lots of other groups, like new buildings, commercial groups, rural wilderness. Look through it and take a feel for what type of POIs are in there and where your prefab might make sense to place it. So that way when you're doing your tagging, as we've shown in a previous video, or you're editing your XML file for the random world mixer, that you'll know whereabouts to put it. So just look around, use these as an example, and save that file. And once you do that, the next time you generate a random gen world, this prefab will appear inside of it. And that's it. Now, if you want to make it a little easier on yourself, I have some examples in a mod that I released on nexusmods.com. If you went to nexusmods.com and searched for gamer gaming or prefab or custom POI, you'll find our mod that has all of the builds that we've done and released videos for, such as the asylum, the library, and some other ones that's released from the community that we may or might not have already done a video for. So if you want to see some examples of how to put that into a random world and have a mod that you can make for yourself that will put your builds in a custom mod, go ahead, download that, and feel free to look at the code I've placed and modify it for yourself. Alright, that's all I have for you today. That was our last prefab tutorial video. Our normal entertaining videos will be out starting early next week, and I thank you for your patience for getting through all these tutorials. Alright, if you like what you've seen here, go ahead and click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you know when our next entertaining videos come out. Alright, thanks and have a good day.